It's the 1st of February and another edition of the show with no name. See, I started a whole different opening.
That's right, right.
Gotta relax. I'm Bob Going with Gavin Burdock. We don't know if Jim Nakosha is coming. He never tells us. He just shows up. And,
He may be shoveling his driveway.
Yeah, what about that? This started about an hour ago, lasted about 20 minutes, and dropped about an inch, right?
Yes, it did.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm going to allow the person who put the snow there to take it away. God put it there. I'll let him warm it up and melt it.
The other day, Anna was shoveling away. And of course, the next day it rained. Everything melted. Everything's green.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or brown.
Or brown, as the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it's February 1st, 2013, and this is starting our third year of podcasting.
Time's fun when you're having flies.
It is, indeed. The other day I ran into Joe Isabel up in Hannaford, I think.
You did?
Yeah, I think so.
Did he ask us how we were doing?
He did. He knows how we're doing. He watches the podcast just like everybody else does.
Yeah.
Actually, he discussed restoring the radio program version of the show with no name.
He did.
Yes, he did, which is the first time in 2 years he's mentioned it to me. He's mentioned it to a lot of other people.
Oh.
Of course, there's many a slip, twixt cup, and lip, as they say. Bob Conover used to say.
The Admiral.
No, his father.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Commodore.
Yeah, the Commodore. The Admiral never had... I don't know.
He never had much to say. He was kind of a quiet fellow.
Yeah.
Dark waters run deep.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I emailed him the other day and heard from him because he shares a birthday with you. So I must say we missed it, but happy birthday, Gavin.
Thank you.
Was it an exciting and exhilarating one for you? Was this number?
As far as I can remember.
61, is it?
Yeah, 61.
Wow.
Yeah. We went to dinner at the Rain Dancer. And I can tell you how old my son is because he's ordering lobster now.
Ooh.
Yes. But, yeah. I had a prime rib, and I had the prime rib for the next 3 days.
Yeah. It's never as good the second time around. I don't know. But it's not like rigatoni. Rigatoni's kind of good after it's been in the fridge and reheated.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm not a rig eater.
Not a rig eater?
Not a rig eater.
Oh.
No.
Well, I have to eat the fake stuff now.
That's right, because you're lactose intolerant. No. Gluten.
That's right. Gluten intolerant. Right. I have lactose intolerant in the family too, but I didn't catch it. No.
So you can't milk that one then, huh?
Mm-mm. So anyway, I got today's recorder out because there's all kinds of interesting stuff in it. Looks like the Ramos murder trial is going to the jury today.
Yeah, it was interesting. They put nobody on in the defense.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of says it all.
Well, of course, the jury will be instructed that the defendant is under no requirement whatsoever.
I understand
You're
that.
not to consider the fact that they didn't offer a defense as proof of anything.
They just have to go on the way of the evidence that they were unable to refute during the testimony of the trial. So it was interesting, though, that the defense is not going to allow the alternates to attend the deliberations.
That's not unusual.
It's not?
No. You keep the alternates there. I'm not even sure it's a good idea under any circumstances to have the alternates take part in the deliberations because it kind of they're there just to fill in case something happens to one of the others. And often things happen. Well, look at me last week. If I'd been on jury, I would have had to leave the jury, right?
Correct.
I've been on that jury panel. You just never know.
Is that maybe their hope? That's just told people somebody won't be able to make it and they'll get a mistrial and have to start all over again? That's not their last card?
I don't know what that gets you, though. Sometimes it's better the second time around because you know what's coming. But on the other hand, it goes in a lot smoother and with no surprises. And I did try a case twice as as a defense attorney. And it was so much fun the first time because we kept, there was one witness who changed her testimony. And on direct examination, she said, I don't remember, and finally she would say what the prosecutor wanted her to say. Whereas the second time around, she remembered everything, supposedly, and so you don't get that. The jury doesn't see that.
The rehearse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this will be a quick deliberation and people can get some
Closure.
peace out of this. Closure on it.
Closure for the McDermott and the Goss families. That would be nice. That would be very nice. And the controller thing, or the deputy controller, or whatever it is they're doing. You know. Apparently before Ron died, they advertised. I guess they were talking about putting in somebody getting paid more than him, basically, to do his job.
To be the assistant, yeah.
And I don't have a huge problem with that. I sort of think, as a general proposition, that the staff member should be the more qualified person, because but the overall oversight of it can belong to somebody who doesn't know a whole lot about accounting, but knows how to run an office. We've discussed this previously. Yeah. The one thing that rather bothers me about this is that this common council just doesn't want to do their job, period, I think. And at the end of the story, Gina says, well, we'll wait for the mayor to make her appointment, and then we'll work from there. So, wait a minute. How does this become a mayoral appointment? If anybody appoints this position, it's the controller who's dead, okay? So he can't do it. In the absence of him being able to do it, I think the common council has to make that appointment, because it's an independent position from the mayors, and to say that the mayor appoints the deputy controller, who in effect is going to remain the controller, or the acting controller for the rest of the year, it would seem, is it's a pretty broad assumption. I'll grant that it's not clear, because I don't think the charter anticipated this situation. But having said that, I think the better way to do it is for them to reach a consensus, the mayor and the council together, reach a consensus who they want, and then put it up by resolution and let it go at that. I don't think saying that this is your power to choose, but that's me. I just believe in the separation of powers, and I don't think one should be usurping the other.
There was a piece on the radio this morning that the scuttlebutt was that there's two people who are in the final pool is being looked at, and that they may appoint both of them, so one would be in effect become the controller and the other become the assistant controller. That's what's floating around out there.
Well, if one of them actually lives in the city, why not do that?
Providing that they are of the appropriate political party, correct?
Right. And that obviously would be a problem.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens, because sometimes
but of course,
people in Amsterdam think water is going to flow uphill.
All right, now let's suppose, as you say, as Edith Stein used to say, suppose that the Common Council decides they're going to ignore the provision that says it has to be the same political party. And actually, an argument could be made that they could appoint a conservative as well, since he also ran on the conservative line. But suppose they just want to ignore it. Suppose they say, I'm just pulling a name out of the air, we want Joe Emanuel to be the city controller. And they appoint Joe Emanuel. If nobody complains,
It's okay.
It's okay. And if they can't find anybody otherwise qualified to fill the position,
That's okay.
it's okay. It's okay until some court says it's not okay. And I think an argument can be made that that provision is unconstitutional, because you really want to. Everybody in the city who's over the age of 18 is eligible to be controller,
Correct.
except in the provision where there's a vacancy. Now, it seems to me that to all of a sudden disenfranchise, more than half the city is maybe unconstitutional in and of itself. I've never liked those provisions. I mean, I understand why they're there. The party in power wants to stay in power, but so what? That you're not there to be a party in power. You're there to provide for the needs of the people of the city of Amsterdam.
Yeah. If this were a legislative branch, it would make sense too, because then you would maintain the balance that's already been established.
Yeah, right.
But since this is, though you may be of a party, it's not a political position.
It really
it's a functional
isn't.
position.
Right. And if anything, the people who are of the same party were probably more opposed to each other than the opposite parties.
Yeah. It appears too that the common council really doesn't work and play well with others.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just out of the desire to be contraire.
Wow. So, I don't know.
We'll find out. Could be as early as today. She can make her anointment.
She can make her appointment.
Make her anointment.
Gina. Gina had her birthday a couple of weeks ago too. She turned 34.
How old?
Yeah.
How old?
34.
34.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ed McBain said in one of his books, 34 is the perfect age for a woman.
No matter how old she is.
I don't know what he meant by that. So he said, Bob Johnson passed away. I don't know if you remember Bob Johnson. He used to be councilman in the town of Amsterdam. Good guy. Good Republican. Yeah. Let's see, councilman. From 76 to 79, and from 84 to 87, he was zoning officer, he was data collector. Hey, big story on your classmate Tony Orapello today.
Yes.
Yeah. They won a game, huh?
They've won several games this year. It's always tough to come in and take over a program, and he's had the challenge of trying to rebuild a program up there. He's got.
He tried that once before. Right? How long was he coached the first time?
Oh boy, he was.
Seemed like it was for a while.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Then he left and he went to FMCC for quite a while. And was very successful at the community college level, and now he came back here. It's a real tough league, the Big Ten, even though it's not 10 teams anymore.
They still call it the Big Ten.
They still call it the Big Ten. Yeah, they're numerically challenged down there, and it's a real basketball league. And you've got basketball teams from the big cities that we have in the area, as well as some the private schools that all recruit. And in fact, even CBA has picked up some players from Amsterdam over the last few years to go down and play for them rather than stay here and play for Amsterdam. So he's had a challenge, and I think like anything else, nothing happens overnight. Doesn't get like it was overnight, and it's not going to get the way you want it to be overnight either. So he puts long hours in. He works real hard. He works hard in the off season with the kids with the AAU program, and working with the coaches at the lower levels. And I think if it's going to get turned around, he'll be able to get turned around. And, he's a tough coach.
I gathered that. Yeah.
He's a tough teacher. But I've told everybody while I was principal at the high school.
He's a tough teacher.
When my kid gets to high school, I'd want him in Mr. Orapello's class, because not only is he going to learn biology, he's going to learn how to be a good human being.
He's younger than me. I certainly didn't have him as a teacher, but my kids did. And Bobby had him one year, and they had some kind of project where they were going to make models of this, that, or the other thing, and I helped them with the project. No, which is, I guess, is okay. I don't, it's not like I
Did the whole thing
did the
for
whole
him.
thing. I mean, it was his concept, but I helped him with it. And then they have the Meet the Teacher night,
Uh-huh.
and he comes out. He's he's the coach at halftime, telling the parents, what's wrong with what the kids need to do, what he doesn't like, and then he holds up our project as a perfect example of a complete lack of imagination. So I got chewed out by the teacher 30 years after leaving high school.
Well,
35, 40 years, I don't know.
a lot of the things that he does and how he is certainly molded by parochial education.
Oh, absolutely.
He
and coaching by Dutch as well.
Absolutely, and he really, remembers how Sister Anna Roberta was and what she taught. Repetition is the mother of invention.
Repetition is the mother of study.
Mother of study.
It's funny you forgot that, considering you wrote it 3,000 times.
We had Autodesk back then too. So, but no, but he really tries to teach like he was taught at St. Joe's and Bishop Scully, and he really believes in a lot of the things that we learned there.
Has he retired from teaching?
Oh no,
He's still teaching.
Yes, he is.
What's the matter
Yes, he is. One, he still likes it.
Yeah.
Number two, he's still married to Joyce.
Yeah.
Okay, those are two motivators to stay working.
Okay.
And he also recognizes that to be a successful coach, you have to have an investment in your players. And by being a teacher, the investment is greater than somebody who is on the outside trying to coach, because they see the kids on a daily basis, and that's that's important, because he wants the kids to be successful in school as well as on the athletic field, but more importantly to be successful in school. But he is, without a doubt, he's a character. And
no, he was very successful as a tennis coach.
Yes, and of all the things he ever done in his life, the least he ever knew about a sport was tennis.
They were like undefeated for 10 years or something, right?
A little bit more than that. I think it was 14.
14 years undefeated.
Yeah. In the Big Ten. But he knew how to coach, though he may not have totally understood all the nuances of the sport. He believed that to be competitive, you have to be in better shape than the other players are. All right, those girls logged as much mileage as a cross-country team.
Well,
did.
I'm reading the sprinting stuff in the article.
By
the way, the recorder gets a lot of knocks, and always has. No matter, their sports page is great. Paul Antonelli's the editor, does a great job. Adam Schinder is a great sports writer. Michael Kelly, who did the story we're talking about here today, always excellent. And I'll tell you, they really do good stuff. And I also got to commend Heather Nellis, who covered much of our deliberations with the County Charter Commission. She's done a heck of a job writing these stories on this murder trial. The detail has been terrific, and I only found one thing where I think she didn't quite understand the judge's ruling, but then maybe I'm wrong. But really a good in-depth job of reporting.
Yeah, the paper
and fine writing.
And at least in the sports department, certainly has changed over the years, where they have been doing more of these in-depth reports and interviews about various coaches and players in the local sports scene. It's not just the scores anymore. They really do a lot with it, and I think they should be commended, because it does add something to something that has been lacking in the paper over a number of years. I
don't know why this brings to mind, but there used to be a place called Bannister's Bowling Lanes. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I remember Bannister's.
And that was in the building that's going to soon house the Walter Elwood Museum. I'm happy to report that parties have reached a final accommodation. We're probably going to close next week on it.
You are.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
We had at the school board meeting last month, we had passed a resolution on a number of things, and one of the things in there, sadly, was a list of things that had been lost in the flood.
Actually, that wasn't. I don't even think that's the lost list. That's just the stuff we recovered
that's
and
no longer
couldn't do anything
usable.
with.
It's just, it was heartbreaking to
Yeah.
see, you know, some of those original maps and things that
Yeah.
we had here that were lost
There
because of that.
were a couple of things that were. There was a painting of it was either a mother and daughter or two little girls. I forget which now. That was hanging in the Victorian room. That was from like the mid-19th century. At one point, someone had offered the museum $50,000 for the painting, and it was totally destroyed. Recovered, but not recoverable. The mud in the water just ripped every flake of paint off the canvas. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Beautiful. And there was what I think was a Mary Vanderveer sketch of Charles Lindbergh that was that
Didn't survive.
didn't survive. It was just kind of ripped apart. And one of her others has needed a little restoration work, but we did have the funds to do that, so that's being done. We got some grant money to restore that which could be restored, which was nice because a lot of that stuff's irreplaceable. One of the things that was badly water damaged was a hat, like a soldier's hat from the War of 1812. Well, it's like a stovepipe, and it's really odd. I mean, it's nothing like we had before or since, and it was probably found so impractical that they never used anything like that again. But
it's like a shako. It's like a shako.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Well,
how do you happen to know that?
Well, because of my wife from Russia. One of the things that she does, she's a miniaturist. She paints miniature.
I got to tell you, it does look like something you could see with the 1812 Overture playing behind it.
Exactly, and she's painted several.
It looks like from the other War of 1812.
The American Army were issued that type of hat to wear during the War of 1812, and she's painted a number of figures that had that. So, because of her, I know something about American history.
Because of your wife from the Ukraine.
Because of my wife from Ukraine who paints, yes. You know, you'd mentioned earlier about this project.
Did you say her mother was from Kazakhstan or something?
Her mother's from Kazan, which is over there, the other side of Moscow, and her dad was from Ukraine. Now, you were talking about that project that you worked with your son in Mr. Orpel's class. And just as a point of professionalism, I'd like to let you know that I'm totally opposed to projects in school.
Me too.
If a project for school is to be graded, the project for school should be done in school. Because unfortunately what happens, it comes home and the child who is encouraged and pushed by his parents will work hard on it right by the parents. And I hated doing projects when I was a kid, and I don't like doing projects today. So we've always told us teachers, we'll do it, but you'd be better off to have the kids do it in class, because then you can see what the kid actually did. The quality probably won't be as good, but the imagination, creativity will be there, and that's what it should be judged on. But I do not like projects in school.
Ever attend a Pinewood Derby race with the Cub Scouts?
I had to do one when I was a kid. I hated it.
You'll find the fathers are a lot more excited than the kids.
Yeah. They've got a lot more time invested in it than the kids. Absolutely. Oh, it's just like when you have the soapbox derbies here in town, up on Lindbergh Ave.
Sure.
You could tell the ones that the kids did, and they got started and finished, and the ones that the dads did started and finished much more quickly than the other ones. But I guess ultimately it's something that brings the family together, these projects, or causes you agita while you're working out. That's the concept. Yeah, hate it. When I taught, never did I give a project, because I didn't like doing them, and I wasn't going to make anybody else suffer.
I hated doing them. The worst one was, remember Sister Roseanne, the French teacher? She was, the first year of Scully was open.
Yeah,
you were a freshman, I was a sophomore.
I took French that year, and Latin. I took both of them.
Well, you might. There were two French teachers. The other one was the really old one. What was her
No, we
name?
didn't have. I had
Anyway,
say
Sister Roseanne was. She was tough. I mean, she was tough. Oh my God, she was. You know, she was one of those.
Yeah.
When she taught Latin, they tell me at another school she was known as Little Caesar. She was like Edward G. Robinson, yeah. Anyway, French Fair, and we had to do a project
Yes,
for
we
the French
did.
Fair.
Yes, we did.
And mine was called Un Petit Village en France, a little village in France. Well, naturally, I didn't get around to doing anything about it until
Night before.
the night before, literally, or maybe the afternoon before. I remember Andy Budka, of course, who went on to a great career in the military, Lieutenant Colonel in the Marines. And, he did a clay bust of Charles de Gaulle. That was pretty good, you know. It's good size, and I don't know how much time he spent on it. You know, somebody who really knows what they're doing, it's probably a 10-minute job too, like I did. But anyway, it looked great. So he was praised. He's got the picture. All right, we're suffering from a little podcast interruptus here. If it looks a little awkward, it's only. I'm going to try to make this look normal by the time we're done. But it seems I've been delinquent in deleting the old shows from the memory card, and this is the first time this has ever happened. And I actually filled up the card. It's got like 19 hours worth of video on it. So, anyway, so here we are. We're back. We're back, and now instead of being in the second hour of the program, we're sort of in the middle of the first hour. So anyway, a couple things. We had Uncle Si's funeral last week, and in my eulogy I was discussing the Battle of Leyte Gulf that he was involved in, and I did a little extra research on it in preparing the eulogy. It was an astonishing thing. I mean, they were so vulnerable because the major part of the American fleet had gone north to engage what they thought was the major part of the Japanese fleet. In fact, they were being decoyed north. Halsey pulled all the heavy stuff up. Si is on an escort carrier, which was like a Liberty ship, tin can. That was, you recall that Henry Kaiser of Sprout Brook, New York, rural Montgomery County, was making these Liberty ships. At one point, they made one from laying the hull to launching it in 4 days. But that's how, that was abnormal. But we were producing them at enormous rates. And you put a flight deck on a Liberty ship, and you've got an escort carrier. Okay, but no armor plate. No, they're just designed to bring the planes forward to support the amphibious landing. So you're talking, dive bombers and fighters and stuff like that, but just to protect the amphibious landings. They're not designed for anything else. They're not the big carriers that are designed to, bring the strategic bombers forward and all that stuff. So there they are. They're there to protect the Leyte landings, which was our first landings in the Philippines with MacArthur. And all they have is these escort carriers, which have like, a couple of anti-aircraft guns, and that's it. I mean, they don't have the Battleship Missouri guns or anything like that. And destroyers and destroyer escorts, which are smaller versions of destroyers. So there's nothing. I mean, just the bare bones. And over the horizon comes these battleships and cruisers and big destroyers that the Japanese have. And the Marcus Island that he was on actually saw one of these cruisers come over the horizon. And these cruisers can go at like twice the speed the escort carriers can. So they're doomed. They're absolutely doomed. And so they did what they could, and that was to just go all in. They launched every plane from the escort carriers, and they just said go. go and attack the Japanese fleet. You're on your own, you know. And you know, all they had was like machine guns on it, so they're machine gunning the decks, and they're going in. And, overwhelming odds. The destroyer, one of the destroyers, the Johnston, our destroyer, goes right up to one of these cruisers. I mean, it cannot survive. They know they cannot survive, but before they go down, they're going to do as much damage as possible. So they launch torpedoes, and they sink a light cruiser. They do this, and all day long, these planes from Size Ship and the other escort carriers are just like mosquitoes, just inching away. And finally, the Japanese admiral concludes that he has to be facing a much larger force than he thought, and he turns around and leaves. And that would have destroyed the Leyte landings, probably put the war back a year.
And I think it's important to understand that during these battles, everything you're fighting against is not in visual range.
Right.
Things are over the horizon.
Right.
So it was theoretically possible for him to think there's a larger group because he can't see the whole group.
Right.
Or very much of the group, in fact. That,
well, but let me tell you, when the Marcus Island actually saw a Japanese ship. Which was lobbing shells at them from the horizon, and they're landing on either side of them, and they can't escape. They can go as fast as they can, but if the cruiser comes forward, they're done. Well, the cruiser didn't come forward, and the planes went to them, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But it just so this is. As you know, I told that story in the eulogy, plus the kamikaze story. Wednesday night, movie night this week, Mary had picked out Battleship. Now, we see 52 movies a year because every Wednesday's movie night.
Right.
It was not something I would have chosen, all right, because it did not get great reviews and all that. As it turns out, it's not that bad. I think the alien special effects are a little bit too much. There's a lot I might have done differently. But all things considered, considering how preposterous it is when you're doing a supposedly serious Hollywood movie based on a Hasbro game. As a matter of fact, when the credits come up, and my wife says, "Hasbro? Why is Hasbro in the opening credits?" Well, because he couldn't have done Battleship without Battleship.
That's right, they use all their models.
Anyway, I'm not worried about giving away too much of the plot because the plot is extremely predictable once you get to the premise, which is that there's a joint American, Japanese, Australian, Pacific naval exercise, one of these for the fun of it things, going on in the general Pearl Harbor area, the Hawaii area. And these aliens from the other side of the universe suddenly land, and they set up this force field, and they're taking on our minor ships. And I'm looking at this. I said to my wife, "This is the Battle of Leyte Gulf. This is exactly what they're doing. Well, what can we do? No, we're hopelessly outnumbered. There's no way. So then we just hit them with what we've got, and they end up hitting them with everything they've got and losing all their ships. And then they says, "Well, what are we going to do now? We don't have any ships left." And one of them says, "We've got one ship left, the battleship Missouri." So this greatly resembles my unwritten screenplay about the Constitution sailing again to save the country. Greatly resembles it. I can't even go with that now because this one already. But it's a great touch because the Missouri, they had shown the Missouri earlier as the floating museum in Hawaii, and the guys playing the guides on the Missouri are the actual veterans.
Oh, really?
And these and then they play a part in the movie. So they get aboard the Missouri. They say, "What are you talking?" They say, "These engines haven't been fired up in 20 years. You know, there's nobody who remembers how these guns work." Blah, blah, blah. He says, "Yes, there are." and he gets these 90-year-old World War II and Korean War veterans to come up and say, gentlemen,
Your country needs you.
you've already served above and beyond, but your country needs you. And it's great because these real guys are then firing up the Missouri. And of course, with the benefit of special effects, the Missouri sails again and the big guns start firing. You know, there's been nothing like it. Those are the biggest guns ever put on a ship. I mean, they used to be able to shoot a Volkswagen 20 miles or something, right? Something like that. Yeah.
It's amazing the distance these shells are going
Yeah,
at.
and the size of the shells. I mean, 2,000-pound shells.
And
There's
ultimately the accuracy.
as a matter of fact, there's one point where they've got one shell left, but it's on the wrong side of the ship, and that gun's already been destroyed. So they have to physically carry it through the interior of the ship, and all these guys are grubbing at every guy available just to lift this one shell.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I'm giving away by saying that we win in the end and the aliens lose, but it was Battle of Leyte Gulf all over again, without giving credit to it. And of course, the Japanese were on our side this time.
They knew better. Yeah. But it's amazing the size of the guns until you can see them in person and see what they were capable of throwing. You're right, it's 2,000 pounds and they're throwing it 20 miles, with a relatively high degree of accuracy.
Oh, with a very high degree of accuracy, yes.
And you look at, they have a lot of on the military channel, they have a lot of stuff about World War II, and you look at the equipment that they had, and you're thinking, that thing really worked.
Yeah.
It really did. I mean, that radar was able to pick up something. I mean, it looks so primitive.
Right.
And you used to watch the movies when we were growing up, and you'd see it, and you didn't have that perspective. Now you look at it and say, that worked?
Yeah.
That's what they used?
Well, of course, when we were kids, this stuff was still fairly new.
Yeah.
But seriously, our TV memories are only 10 years after Hiroshima.
Yeah, but it was like, wow, so this is what it was, and you really have to give the guys that much more credit for what they were able to accomplish, because it was
just astonishing.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're able to break down the force field, and just as the Missouri is about to get sunk, the modern jets from the Reagan come in and polish everybody out.
One of the guys we played softball with, Bob Hardig.
What's the last name?
Hardig, Hartig.
Oh, from the Dutch Hill Hardings?
Dutch Hill Hardings.
Yeah.
In fact, he lived. His father used to be the caretaker.
Oh, sure, right. Yeah.
And his daughter has served in the Navy. And this past summer, she was over in.
What a great guy, by the way, Art Hardig. What a great guy.
They were in Hawaii, and they had the opportunity to come back on the ship from Hawaii to San Diego. He and his wife, they do these cruises for family members that they can come back on. And he had some photos and videos like, wow. I mean, it's as big as the city of Amsterdam.
Sure.
The ship, and the jets they take off. He says it's, you see these guys on TV, you got these things, you gotta wear them.
Yeah.
You can't believe the sound of these things, and the speed that this boat is traveling at, that you don't get that perspective from watching. He said it's incredible.
We were in San Diego. We took the tour of the Midway, which was the most modern of the World War II carriers, because it came out at the tail end of World War II. And across the bay, the Reagan was in port. What a difference! What a ship! Holy God! But these little escort carriers that Cy was on, and as I say, they're just, I don't know if you ever saw a Liberty ship. They used to have them docked down in the Hudson down by Bear Mountain someplace. They're not very big. They had a crew of like 500. I mean, they were literally on top of each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know how.
It wasn't comfy.
And I don't know, they were like 50 planes or something like that. And they were, they just squeezed in wherever they could. And I think they had a catapult, and
Yeah,
Oh.
they were small, but you're right, they were just cranked out in such numbers.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and they were used to be consumed. They knew they weren't going to last long. But they just kept cranking
The
them out.
interesting thing about that northern battle that Halsey got suckered into, of course, we ended up destroying the Japanese fleet, so it all worked out fine. He ended up, but by that point in the war, which was October '44, end of October '44, the Japanese were out of planes. Their aircraft carriers had only a handful of planes on them. I mean, they had carriers, but nothing to
carry.
Nothing to carry. And we were just outproducing them by monstrous proportions. I mean, there was no way we could have lost that war if we chose to fight it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. It's just amazing. All the money went to Europe to fight the battle in Europe, and yet the war in Asia was virtually won by the time the European war was over. Kevin McKern, my cousin, third cousin, enjoyed the story of Leyte Gulf, and he told me he doesn't really know much about his father's experience. His father died young and never really got to tell him. He says, but he was on the USS Hank, and I'm thinking, well, that must be a nickname for the USS Henry, but no, it was actually named after somebody named Hank. And I started researching that, and these guys, our Navy was sailing right into Tokyo Harbor before the atomic bomb. I mean, the Japanese Navy and Air Force was virtually destroyed at that point, and we were firing at will. They had anti-aircraft guns to shoot down our planes, but they couldn't challenge our fleet. And we were actually at the point where we could have bottled up their harbors, and they couldn't have done anything about it, except the occasional kamikaze. But
that was a big point in their losses. You say these aircraft carriers are empty. Well, when you send up 50 planes and none of them are coming back.
Well, yeah, and of course at that point that's all they could do. And I think what they started doing that. Well, you saw the picture I posted, the phenomenal photograph of the kamikaze going down off the port bow of the Marcus Island with the flight deck crew scattering. That was like, if that not the first time that they were using the kamikazes, it was close to it. After that, it's all they could do. At Okinawa, a few months later, there were 1,100 Allied ships supporting that battle. Now, today we don't have we barely have a 200 ship navy, right? There were 1,100 just at Okinawa. This is while the war is still going on in Europe. It's flabbergasting, and all they could do was send up their kamikazes because there was no other way.
Nothing else.
We controlled the air so much that if they tried to hit us and run away, they weren't going to do it anyway. So they might as well just aim for the ships. And even then, as many as kamikazes hit, I think they only sank like 5 or 6 ships.
Yeah, they weren't very successful.
Wow.
Speaking of your book, how's that coming?
Well, I got delayed, obviously, a couple of weeks, but geez, I'm just thinking of just ending it. And go, because I got a lot of material, and you know what? There's a second book in there, so maybe I'll just hold the material. There's still a couple of stories I need to tell in the book, but I'm at the point now where I'm pulling out as much as I'm putting in. But I got a problem. I got a serious problem.
What's that?
I may have to change the ending completely. The ending is, well, I don't think I'm giving anything away, is the funeral of Louis DeLello. Louis DeLello was one of the first guys from Company G to march out of town in October of 1940 in the Big Parade. So he's in the opening chapter of the book, which is called The Big Parade.
All right.
And in 1991, they found and identified his body and returned him for burial. So he was the last.
First and last.
He was the first and the last. He was the last World War II guy to be returned home and buried. And a couple nights ago, I got an email that one of the Amsterdam heroes from World War II, and when I say hero, I mean hero, a name you would recognize, they finally identified his body after 70 years. And I got the impression that they were, I mean, this just happened. I mean, a half hour after the family was notified, they notified me. And so all of a sudden, the last World War II funeral hasn't happened yet, but may be happening shortly. And it's, all I can say is it's a marvelous thing, and it will also fit into my book, but I got the ending all beautifully written. Now we're going to have to change it. Or just put an epilogue on or something.
Well, yeah, but it's a good reason.
It is a good reason to change it. That's right. It is a good reason. But it's terrific news. Terrific news. And I know everybody in the family of the deceased is very excited about it. So they're already a featured part of my book, and this will top it off. This will top it off good.
Well, everything works out for a reason. Everything
Yeah, I know, but the ending is so good. The ending is so good. And the beginning is so good. And the middle is not too bad. I just keep coming up with more great stories.
Well,
You know, I took all these notes, and I'm just going through the notebooks. I have a notebook for every year, and every day, every newspaper article I've got,
Yeah.
and you know, some of them I have copies of, and some of them I hadn't copied yet. So then I'm going back and checking out some of those, and I said, "Oh, this is good." I get, Felix Alisi going to his hometown that he left when he was a kid, his hometown in Italy. Did I tell you that story last time?
Yeah. Now the gentleman that you're alluding to, we didn't speak of. Now he's in your other book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because he was one of the people who was killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
When I have permission from the family, I'll tell the whole story because it's a great story. But in the fog of battle, sometimes they've had his body. This is a case where they've actually had the body all along, but they just weren't able to identify it because it was just one of many. And now it's with DNA, and they finally did the DNA tests, and I guess.
wow.
I haven't got the details. Actually, the person who was coordinating it hasn't written back to me. I sent her what I had, and haven't heard back, so I don't know. But great stuff. So I hope we have a big Amsterdam funeral for this
I was
guy.
going to ask you, are they going to have a funeral in Amsterdam?
I hope so.
I know a piper.
I hope so.
I know a piper.
I mean, this is where he would be buried. And I've got the telegrams saying, well, when the war's over, we'll notify you about bringing the body home. But until then, we're busy. So in 1947, when they start repatriating the bodies, they get another telegram. We forgot. We probably should have told you this before, but we don't exactly know where he is.
Wow.
Yeah, that happens,
Yeah.
especially with the big battles.
It's good they know now.
Anyway, so I'm happy with where the book stands right now, but I want to finish.
So it's like giving birth, right?
Oh my God!
Pregnancy's been all right, but now you want
I mean, I tried try like heck to get it done by the end of January. I mean, my last goal before that was the end of August, past August. And, but I have been working on it steadily. Every day I've been working on it. So as long as I keep working on it, the day will come when I'll
be done working on it.
I'll be done with it.
Oh, good deal.
And then I really need to do a second edition of the honor roll book about the World War II dead, because I got a lot of corrections to make, for one thing. Plus I've added, I got 3 or 4 people to add that I came across in my travels. Boy.
Oh.
Like that, the one Van Hasselen put me on at Lansing, who had the ship named after him.
Oh yeah.
Well, hey, he stepped down.
I was just going to say that we have a new
My God.
Hal
Did you go to that meeting? Or?
No, we always have on Wednesday nights, and those are school board meeting nights.
Oh. So after getting Hal off the ground, he's turned it over to the next best guy to do the job. Frankly, it was a perfect choice.
Yeah,
perfect choice.
You know, and he's done so much in 3 years,
Yeah.
4 years. He's been doing it.
Yeah.
You know, now with his, his new job, that takes. He doesn't have as much time to devote to that. I mean, he's still doing his other job with the city as historian. So it's good. I think it shows the quality of the structure he's created, that he can turn over to somebody else and keep going forward.
And for a program like that really to work, you've got to be able to hand it off. And yeah, get it started, get it going, have some goals set for the next few years, and it's an organization that can really run on the cheap, because what it needs to do can be done relatively on the cheap. The annual tours.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of material to put together a calendar year after year after year, and they're very popular. They sell, they raise enough funds. They raise good money for that Green Hill Cemetery project, which was
highly successful.
Just an outstanding event, I have to say, even though I'm maybe tooting my own horn because I was part of it, but it was very, very well received by the public.
They're going to run another one next year.
You can run another one with different characters. You can run them
different
almost
cemeteries?
forever. Different cemeteries. If you have to, you can bus people in. And why not? Why not? Now this year they're going to tour the West End. They've done the South Side. They've done the kind of the Church Street corridor, I guess, 1 year. At some point, I think they're planning on doing the old Fourth Ward, the Reed Hill area. So there's a lot of interesting parts of Amsterdam that deserve a look at, and people learn stuff that they never knew. They're living here all their lives.
It gives them a better appreciation for the community, and a more positive view of the community as well, which is something he's been working real hard to overcome. We on the inside often have such a negative view what we have around us, which I guess is natural, but
it's natural
we need to begin to try to turn that around and make it more positive, because there is a lot of good, and you need to step back and appreciate the good.
And there sure is a heck of a lot of history, and interesting history, and interesting characters. And, who knew?
Who knew? Absolutely. Then as they get going with the dig down there on the river, they could find something else.
Different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I gotta say, I'm excited about the Walter Elwood Museum. I don't know whether we got that in on the last half hour or not. I forget when we did it in the program.
You just closed on a location for it. Is that correct?
We're ready to close next week and get title to the building and start moving in. Yesterday, we were making some plans about preliminary plans about how we're going to get the stuff up there, where the different rooms are going to be, and things like that. And it was. Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
It's good. We got approval of the planning board a couple of weeks ago.
That's
And the
good.
zoning board we got in December, so we're all set to go. We can, as soon as we're ready, we're open. I think we're gonna need, obviously, we're gonna get the rooms done right. But what's nice about the building is we've got a staging area, which we didn't have when we moved from Guy Park Avenue. Because those boxes went straight into the rooms, unpacked and all that. But now we can actually do it
Open up and look.
one room at a time, do it right, paint the rooms first, and all that. But the building is in such good shape that we can really move right in. We're looking to open in April.
Are you looking to bring somebody in to help kind of look at the big picture, how to have things staged besides just in-house people?
Yeah, and we're also, we're going to start out with a basic premise that all the rooms we had before, we want to be bigger. Okay, and leave room for expansion in either direction where we can move. Got a long-term plan of. Remember, we had one industrial room, and everything was kind of crammed. Everything we owned was crammed into it. And what I would really love to see is an industrial wing, whereby you can wander from room to room and have them devote. What I would like is to have Mohawk carpets tell the Mohawk carpet story.
They have it, each industry has their own.
Yeah, and of course, Bigelow Sanford. We're in the heart of the Bigelow Sanford building, and so we've got a lot of artifacts that came with the building, frankly. I've talked to Carol about Constantino about having the noteworthy story there, because quite frankly, it's a good story, and it's a family business. And
Yeah.
another thing I'd like to see happen, and I haven't discussed this with the board yet, is years ago, back in the 70s, Tom Constantino had this plan for kind of an outdoor display of the, I don't know, 5 phases of Amsterdam, from the Indian culture up to the space age, because we had Rocco Patron, and he had this whole thing planned for outside the Noteworthy building, that it would be a tourist stop, a little park out there. Well, that never happened, but the plans are all there, and the concept is interesting, and I think if we, I think we can probably arrange, parts of the museum to go along with that, because we have the Indian stuff, and we have the stuff from the different phases of the city's history, the industrial phase, and I'm sure we can work the space age into it. Although I think we gave away our really, it's one of those things that annoy. We had a Mercury capsule.
I was gonna, did you have a spaceship?
We had a Mercury, or at least a modeled, a scaled down version of the Mercury capsule that had been in the basement at the Guy Park School, and I don't think it came with us. I don't know whether it got tossed or whether the school district ended up with it or what. But anyway.
Noteworthy had their Indian museum there.
Right.
Are any things from there going to?
Actually, we're going to operate it. We're going to operate it.
The Indian Museum's going to still be a separate entity. It'll be as what's in there, and you guys will be running it.
Right.
And then you'll have the.
Right. Plus, we have our own Indian artifacts too.
Right. Because I wondered what had happened to all the stuff that she had in there. I mean, that was a great summer program. I mean, they did a pretty good job of drawing people in, and they have some real unique things in there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's a nice little museum, and now it'll be open or be available to be opened whenever our museum is open, because we'll have the key to it, which will be nice. It'll be really nice, and it fits in beautifully with what we got. Plus, we got meeting rooms and galleries, and a place where we can have moving exhibits, and yeah. Yeah,
see, the MCM high school art show can be down there now.
Well, now we
even
can,
more expanded than it was when it was on Guy Park.
It would be, we've got room to make it twice as big, 3 times as big.
Because that used to be a great art show, and it was just so tight down there with all the stuff that the work
right.
Now
there are rooms in the You know, the upper part, the electrometric side, all the way up.
How many square feet do you have?
In the whole building, it's like 92,000. We're going to keep 20,000 as public space for the museum. Plus we've got storage areas we're going to keep, and you know, the offices and such. So yeah, so we've got a lot of room, and that's compared to about 12,000. That's the most we ever had. Anything. No, not even that. We couldn't have had that much. I think 12,000 included all our storage space and stuff on Guy Park. I'm not even sure it was that much.
I don't think it's that much.
Anyway, we got a lot of room. So
that's good. That's good.
So we got room for classrooms and a nice size room for the library.
Good.
I'm trying to talk my sister into organizing the library. She had a degree in library science that she's never used. So now that she's out of college, 30 years or 30 more. Oh my God! Yes.
She had a degree in books and organization.
I'm trying to think. Now she's been out of college since '75. That's 38 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. She can do it.
There you go.
She's a bright girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
You saw her, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Where is she now?
She lives in Gloversville. Just moved east, and I've only she moved east in the late fall, and she's taken a couple of vacations since then. So I've only seen her. That was only the second time I've seen her since she's been back in the area.
Yeah.
She came back for Christmas.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah. She's my only sister, and I like her.
You're not her only brother, but does she like you?
Huh?
So you're not her only brother, but does
but
she
she
like
still
you?
likes me.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think she likes me best of the brothers, but I used to pick on her.
That's part of the
Everybody likes Sean the best because, you know, he was the baby. He was the only child. So my brother, the only child. So everybody likes Sean.
Yeah. The middle guys get lost on the show.
You know, we were talking. Was it must have been on the last hour that didn't get recorded about the robotics.
Yeah.
My brother Sean was involved in writing software for these pieces of equipment that are now commonplace among salesmen, but were not when he did it. So, like if you were a Pepsi-Cola salesman,
Yeah.
you would go in and you had this handheld device,
Yeah.
and the guy say, I need 60 crates of Pepsi Light and 60 crates of Pepsi regular, and at that point the stuff is already shipping. You know, it's connected directly to the factory. Nobody's even touched it, no. And the stuff is on its way. The billing has already gone out, and it seemed when he started doing this, not so many years ago, this was just incredible. Now it's smartphone company material. You know.
Yeah. It is. It's amazing. As long as they don't get to the point where a robot can create another robot and get rid of us, you know.
Well, I guess we've seen those movies, haven't we?
Yeah. But used to be science fiction, tell you science fact. You know, look at Dick Tracy. I mean, you have a little.
Oh yeah. They went from Risk Radio to Risk TV, and wow.
Wow, that'll never happen.
Right. Yeah. Transistor radios came out, and all of a sudden they said, "Well, we got to update. So we'll make it Risk TV. Nobody will believe this."
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And now, you know, these common cell phones are transmitting video as you're walking around. You know, I mean, it's.
Who knew?
Jeepers!
Unbelievable what they have.
You know, one of the holidays, I forget, maybe it was Thanksgiving. Yeah, Jamie was not home, and he was out in Texas, and he had his iPad with him, and we put him on the big screen in the living room, and we're all talking to him like he was in Ray Bradbury's next room. You know?
And it didn't cost you anything for the phone call.
And it didn't cost anything for the phone call. On top of that,
yeah, it's amazing. You know, these things. You know, Misha's got an iTouch. You know, and it's like, can you find something? Yeah, I'll find something for you. Boom, boom. And it's like, how's it work?
Yeah.
How's it do that? I don't know.
we were talking. I don't. It probably was not recorded either about taps on YouTube and how YouTube just analyzes it. The computer analyzes it and tells you what you're playing and why there might be a problem with it, and who may have the rights to it. All right. So I'm mentioning this to Anna one day, and we were watching something on TV, and I said, "What's that? What's that tune that's the theme song of the show or whatever?" On her iPhone.
She Googles it.
No, she's not Googling it. She's got an app that listens to the television and tells you what you're listening to.
Way.
Honest to God. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Years ago, Bobby used to have one. When he first went to New York, he had a phone app that would tell you where every public restroom was in Manhattan, so you'd be walking down the street, you had to go, and it would rate them. Not only tell you, but this one they only clean every fourth day, or so.
Yeah, they had somebody at Christmas time. Somebody had an app, and they could you type in an item, and it would give you all the stores locally that had it and what they were charging. So you go to the store and get the cheapest one. It's like,
right. Oh no, they go to the.
Who puts this
no, they go to the store now. They see what they want, put the item in, and it's already ordered and shipping from Amazon or whatever.
Yeah. They showed Amazon TV the other day. Their big warehouse out there. They just got robots doing, picking up the stuff as soon as it's entered, and it's all
I get this for every once. Every time I sell a book or two, I get a spreadsheet from them automatically. How much royalty I got coming.
Yeah.
It's always a thrill. Then they deposit it directly in my account. They just wire it directly into my account. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They don't touch anything. They not like this CreateSpace, which has been publishing my books. CreateSpace, which is owned by Amazon. You upload your book and your cover. It analyzes them, sends you a virtual copy through the computer, so that you don't even need a print copy to check out how it's formatted, whether it tells you if there's a problem. It tells you if your photographs should have a higher DPI, or whether are you satisfied with this, and And you put the order. No human being ever touches it. Okay, no human being ever touches it. And then you decide that you want it printed. Then you order your copies. It goes into this big print machine, which prints them all up, binds them, boxes them, and ships them to you, and that human being doesn't touch them until the guy takes it off the truck.
Unbelievable.
And they do it at a price that is so ridiculous that you can't believe it. Now, I mean, granted, I put a lot of time into writing the books, but the actual printing of the books is so cheap that I'm embarrassed at how cheap it is. My honor roll book, I think even with the shipping costs included, comes to less than $3 a copy. Yeah.
Wow.
And the same with my murder mystery.
Well, the one thing they can never replace. They'll never, look in the future as far as you want. They'll never be able to replace the show with no name. It's got to be us.
That's right.
That's right. Irreplaceable.
No robot can do what we do. That's right. However,
we got a robot turning it on.
However, in the 2 short years we've been doing this program, I used to spend hours putting the show together after we did it.
Right.
I used to have a separate soundtrack that I wedded with the video when we first started doing video. Of course, we didn't even have video when we started. I had to find places to host it and put it on archive.com and then move it and it would literally take me from the end of the program at noon on Friday till Saturday night to get everything up. Now. Now I'm done with the program. I bring it upstairs. It takes maybe an hour or so to get it into the computer in a way that I can manipulate it. But after that, it's just a matter of a few minutes. I put in the captions, separate the two programs, and then upload them. And you know, it takes maybe a couple hours to then upload it to YouTube, and then I do the second show. But during that couple hours, I can go do something else.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of time I actually spend on the editing now is minimal. Very minimal.
Sounds good.
Except for today, when of course it stopped in the middle of the program.
But you're well put together. If we don't tell anybody, they won't even notice.
But I already told everybody, so
Oh.
they'll notice.
They'll look for it, but will they be able to find it?
So I don't know if you've noticed the decor here. But we're in the Fulton Memorial Studio, and I've got these nice pictures of Uncle Si here. Who, what a terrific guy! That's all I can say. That's all I can say. For 6 years, he blessed this house with his presence, and
Can't ask for anything more than
you
that.
can't ask for anything more. I mean, just a great guy all his life. I don't know anybody who could say a bad word about the guy. He was actually, I had two rather up there in age women, both unmarried, who spoke of Si in such a way that I thought,
Maybe.
he did a good job. He did a good job doing the two-step, keeping him at bay. And he managed to be a lifelong bachelor.
That's a good thing. He's a good guy.
I guess there were a couple of girls who got away over the years, but the last one was like in the early 50s.
Oh.
Yeah, then after that he gave up, I guess. I don't know, there was a... I should have asked him these stories, but you know, you don't want to, you don't want to open old wounds. But you know, we all got talking after he died. Apparently, there was a girl back home during the war who ended up marrying somebody else while he was on board ship, and then there was another girl that I think he dated in college when he was at Brown, and she went on to other things. But going through his belongings, I found a newspaper clipping about her from the 60s, I think. Yeah.
Kept track of her a little bit.
And yeah, it was actually kind of, she got in the publishing industry or something, and as an experiment, I think it was an E.B. White book that she copied, typed up, and submitted it for publication. In other words, this was a semi-classic, something that had been a bestseller and everything else. And she types it up under her own name and submits it to all these publishing companies and collected the rejection letters.
She knew that was going to happen. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, no, it's who you are.
I guess. That's funny.
It's getting them to read them in the first place that's the hardest part of going through traditional publishing. So I don't go through traditional publishing. Although I think I am with this book.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Because it's got a lot of mini-series built into it.
A lot of good stories in it.
A lot of good stories that would, you know, that don't need each other to...
Stand on their own legs.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing, you know, I am just continually amazed at how many people from Amsterdam, New York did great things in World War II. And I said, boy, this must be an astonishing place. And then I think about it, I said, you know, every town in America has probably got the same story.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah.
You know, we got jeepers. I mean, on the upper level, you got the guy, Brigadier General Alan Kimball from Amsterdam, New York, who provided he was essentially quartermaster for Europe during World War II. So from D-Day on, he was providing all the supplies for everything that made the invasion possible and the conquest of Germany inevitable. But you know, at all these different levels, you know, from the lowest private to the generals, there was always somebody.
Somebody stepped up and did the things that happened.
Thomas Cross, Colonel. There was a battle going very badly, like in the Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany border area. Everything was going wrong, and they put him in to replace somebody, and boom, you did this, you did that. Charles de Groff, you know, who left here as a first lieutenant, and I don't know whether he ended up full colonel or lieutenant colonel, but he ended up commanding a battalion in Okinawa, and just, you know, just a native-born talent, and he was just a guy who came out. I think he came out of Mohawk Carpets. You know, he was just kind of like a junior executive at Mohawk Carpets, and then okay, we need you to win a war. All right, okay, sure, I'll go do that.
Skills are transferable.
Which, you know, hence my title. Where do we find such men? Yeah, we find them in the shipping room at Mohawk Carpets. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they were spinners and dyers, whatever those things are. I don't even know what they are. But what's your job? I'm a spinner. All right. What does a spinner do?
He's the one who works on the machine that, as the wool comes in on these big spinners, is the one who threads them into there to as they get weaved back and forth.
You know, I would love to get one of those old weaving machines for the museum. I don't know if there are any left in town, but they all got shipped out. But it doesn't have to work. But
no, I'm saying, but no, boy, that'd be great.
One of the looms of Mohawk.
Carpets from the looms of Mohawk.
I'll make you one.
Mohawk.
Yeah, I think one or two of them would have been left behind, but I don't know.
You have to get in those buildings and walk around and see. It might be.
Heck, there might be one from Sanford's floating around in the building we're about to inherit. I don't know. I didn't see one though. But there was so much stuff. Oh my God, there was so much stuff in that building. Anyway, so that's it. I think we've done enough. I don't know whether we've got more than an hour and maybe an hour and a half, but we've been talking for 2 hours.
Yes, we have. Some of the best stuff that's on the cutting room floor.
Oh, it's on the cutting room floor. I never made it. And you know, I ought to hook this thing up so it'll beep when that happens. I don't know.
Well, you know, it did make a little flash.
It probably did,
while we're talking, but
but you know, we got the lights in our eyes too, so, and we're a fair distance from the camera.
Yeah. But between this week and next week, maybe we can take some of that stuff off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do the same thing because Marina tapes all Misha's bagpipe things and soccer games and stuff. So, you know, we tape it, we load it on the computer, then we erase it.
Well, I just erased 19 gigabytes between the two shows when I ran upstairs. Yeah. That's how we made room.
Yeah, it's not hard. But you have to remember to do it. That's
apparently there were a lot of shows in front of the. And you know, there's some things I never erase, which are. There's stuff at the beginning of the memory chip that's when Misha played down at the Irish American Club.
Oh, that when you raised the fundraiser.
Yeah.
Got that on there.
But you've already got that because your wife was videoing it at the same time.
But some stuff you never get rid of. I
can't get rid of that. It's Misha.
We got one of Misha. We went to Wichita and he drank scotch for the first time after he played in the Haggis. Yeah. We always have that because you get to see him swallow it and.
Speaking of Haggis, my friend Tim Kelly was out in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he went to a Bobby Burns dinner, and they had, and it was right after Uncle Si died because he told me he raised a glass of scotch to Uncle Si's memory and swallowed a tablespoonful of Haggis. So. I can't believe it's legal in this country.
I always thought that's the reason the Scotch left Scotland.
What is it? You can't have goose liver or something, or
no? Isn't it? That's pate, isn't it? Goose liver is pate.
I think. Yeah, but one of those, yeah, well, but I think the goose liver is
bad for you?
banned in this country. Yeah.
Why would it be banned?
I don't know.
Not enough geese? They're getting
I
killed
don't
for
know.
their
I mean,
livers?
you know what Patton had to say. We're gonna go for it. I'm gonna crap for
Yeah.
I don't know. You know the famous opening speech of Patton is
On the stage
yeah,
there.
yeah, it's modeled after a real one he gave, and believe it or not, the real speech is even saltier than
That
the.
one?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Nobody's heard of a war dying for the
yeah.
country.
And it's woo.
Son of a bitch dying for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I found that. I went looking for a particular Patton quote to close my eulogy for Uncle Si, and I found a different one given about the same time with the same, basically saying the same thing but slightly different way. And that, anyway, so what did he say? It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who have died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived. And that may be the when I write the second book, that may be the title of it. Thank God that such men lived.
That's good.
Yeah. The other version of it was almost the same, but he given it it was on the same tour home, and that one was in Massachusetts. But he gave a speech in California that I have a newspaper clipping of. What he said then was, "Thank God such men were born," which I also like. That's the one I was looking for and didn't find it. And of course, it was on my own computer.
Who'd think to look there, right?
Yeah, I didn't think to look there. Didn't think to look there. Anyway, that's we're about talked out for this week. We'll try to do something controversial next time. But this was our second anniversary show, so starting our third year of podcasts. I'm Bob Going. This is Gavin Murdoch. And we'll be back next week. You'll be
next
here.
Next week I will be here, absolutely.
With the 8th of February with more of the show with no name.